Every day I walk into a school building and I see people trying to decide and make decisions on what they should carry and what they should haul around. And they're really trying to figure out what they should carry in their backpack. Backpack culture is real. We got the seniors who got the cartoon backpacks or the little kid type backpacks. We got the track athletes trying to figure out, should I put my spikes in my backpack? Since it's baseball, softball season, they're trying to figure out, should I carry around one bat or should I carry around two bats? What I'm going to do with my glove? We got the people that think they're hoopers. Can I put my shoes in my backpack or do I need to carry them in my hand? We got the musicians. Can I put my musical instrument in my backpack or do I need to carry it in my hand? We got science projects. I don't think you want to put that in the backpack because it's probably going to get messed up. And I think about myself personally. I have a backpack. Like, what's in my backpack? And I decided to take a little look. I got some paperwork in there. I had to fax today. I got this graduation party invitation. I got some out of bounds plays from this past basketball season. And I have this book right here. Shout out to Pastor Sadler. I'm going to read this book. I got this book in my backpack. But all this just made me think, what is in your mental backpack? What is it? Because so many times we are carrying around things that we feel like we need or things that we feel that are a part of our identity. And we are carrying these things in our mental backpack. What is in yours? And what you're carrying in your mental backpack, it's eventually going to come out or it's eventually going to show. It's just a matter of time. And I know for me personally, carrying around certain mindsets, certain philosophies, it made me act a whole fool. Or if it wasn't wise, it just made me miss out on blessings or different opportunities. And I thought about what are people carrying in their mental backpacks because I've been seeing so much violence. Like I looked the other day, a few weeks ago, I live in Milwaukee. We had a bunch of teenagers getting together for what they called a mall takeover, where they go to a mall and they plan to fight and act a fool and run around and have the police come there. And I'm like, what's in these kids' mental backpack? What's in their parents' mental backpack for allowing them to go? Like, what are their parents carrying that just makes them say, yeah, you can go and I don't know what you doing there. You acting a whole fool though. Then I looked on social media the other day, and this happened in my area too, an AAU basketball game. AAU season is here. And at a children's game, there are two parents fighting. I guess a gun dropped or the police had to be called. And I'm like, man, what is in these people's mental backpack? What are they carrying that they probably shouldn't be carrying? Then I saw something else that was talking about different universities, and it was talking about different parties and different fights that people were having. And I'm like, man, all this violence, what are people carrying in their mental backpacks? And I started thinking, what's being carried in mental backpacks a lot of times is these philosophies and these mindsets of like, man, I got to be tough. Hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not taking any disrespect. Hey, I had to let them know. That's a mindset a lot of times that people have. This is part of my culture. Hey, they got me messed up. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't need to do it that way. I don't need to do it God's way. And so many times people don't have the Proverbs 16 verse 24 mentality and mindset, which is gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. And this is so important because we are all carrying different mindsets, different philosophies, different beliefs, different cultural pressures. And all those things shaped how we react or how we're going to show ourselves. And all of this made me think of Acts chapter 7, which is talking about Moses. And Moses is a great prophet. But what we see in Moses' life is at the beginning, Moses was carrying the wrong things in his mental backpack. And before he became great, he had to get rid of some of that stuff in his mental backpack. This is Acts chapter 7, starting at verse 23. It says, when Moses was 40 years old. Now, I just want to stop right there because a lot of us have stuff that we've been carrying since we were a child and we've never addressed it. And what we do a lot of times is we'll say like, it's not that big of a deal. And it's like, but if it's not good, then it should be addressed because eventually it's going to show itself or it's going to cause you to react. So I want you to think about yourself. What are some things that you are possibly carrying in your mental backpack that might even go all the way back to your childhood that you really should address? What is it? It goes on to say that Moses decided to visit his own people, the Israelites. Now, I want to stop right there and just point out Moses has identity crisis, because you might be like, all right, what's the big deal about Moses going to visit his own people? Well, Moses' own people, the Israelites, they were enslaved. They were treated horribly. They were treated brutally by the Egyptians. But the thing is, Moses wasn't a slave. Moses was actually treated and looked like one of the Egyptians. He was able to have the fine wine and dining. He was treated like a prince because the Pharaoh's daughter adopted him when he was a baby. So Moses has this identity crisis of, all right, I'm living this life as an Egyptian in royalty, but I see my people struggling and how hard they're working and how they're being mistreated. What should I do? Verse 24 says this: Moses saw one of them, which is talking about the Israelites, being mistreated by an Egyptian. So Moses went to his defense and avenged him by killing the Egyptian. Now, Moses didn't think anybody saw him do this, but what I want to point out right here is so many times from those cultural pressures that we face, we are slaves to the evil of our culture. So Moses might have been free, but he still was a slave to this mentality and this thought process that he had of, all right, violence is the answer. And I think about all this violence that we see, and 99% of the time, violence is not the answer. We are slaves to the evil of our culture. Now, some of us might not be like physically violent, but with our words, we cut and we punch and we fight, and we don't have that Proverbs 16 verse 24 mentality, which is gracious words are a honeycomb. We are not trying to be healing to the bones. We are not. And in verse 25, it says this: Moses thought that his own people would realize that God was using him to rescue them, but they did not. Now, so many times with our mental backpacks, we move and make decisions based off of ego, and we make it off of pride. And the thing we got to see with Moses, and Moses didn't realize, is you should never, ever aim to please people at the expense of offending God. Like, don't do it. Do not do it. And sometimes we think like, man, I can take a break from doing it God's way. You can't. That is a lie of the enemy that will get you in some mess. Verse 26 says this: The next day Moses came upon two Israelites who were fighting. He tried to reconcile them by saying, men, you are brothers. Why do you want to hurt each other? And so many times we pick and choose what we want to follow with God's word and God's way, but there are no exceptions. Like there are no exceptions. And if you do want to make an exception, it's going to cost you. It's going to be a consequence. It's going to be a door getting closed on you. It's going to be an opportunity not there. It's going to be a blessing that's no longer there. And that's what happens at times. Verse 27, but the man who was mistreating the other pushed Moses aside and said, who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian yesterday? Remember, Moses didn't think anybody saw him. So Moses is spooked now. Like, what? He saw that? And it says when Moses heard this, he fled to Midian. And this cost him years of his life. But what we see with this, and God wasn't done with Moses. Moses had to leave in order to change his mental. And I ask you this question: what do you need to take out of your mental backpack, or what do you need to leave in order to change your mental backpack? Because sometimes that's the only way to get the change and carry the right things. Leaving that environment, leaving that situation, leaving that thought process, leaving that mindset. What mindset is costing you? And when you think about it, it's really, really hard to fill up the backpack with the right things if you don't know Jesus Christ and you don't know his way. You can't really serve until you know how Jesus served. You can't really find peace until you know the peace that Jesus provides. You can't really love until you know the love of Jesus Christ, the one who gave up his seat on the throne to come and live a lowly life for you and suffer and die on a Roman cross. Like, until you know that love, you cannot fill your mental backpack with the right things, because that is the center of each and everything that we do and need to know in order to move the right way. And this is the non-microwave truth.